Mr. Homan, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start with something you said last week that caused a big stir. You said, I quote, "I don't care what judges think." Now, I know you have since said that the administration will abide by court orders. We heard Donald Trump say the same thing. So what do you mean when you say, "I don't care what judges think"?
No, I don't care what that judges think. As far as this case, we're going to continue to arrest public safety threats and national security threats. We're going to continue to deport them from the United States. I understand this case is in litigation through the Alien Enemies Act, and we'll abide by the court order as litigated. But my quote was, despite what he thinks, we're going to keep targeting the worst of the worst, which we've been doing since day one, and deporting from the United States through the various laws on the books. We're not making this up. The Alien Enemies Act was actually a federal law. It's a statute enacted by Congress and signed by a president. Now, that's under litigation. But put that aside, we still have Title VIII authority to remove illegal aliens from the United States, and we're going to continue to concentrate on those who are the biggest threat to our communities, the public safety threats.
But you're going to abide by court orders as long as, and go through your appeals process, but you are not going to defy those orders.
No.
Okay, let me ask you about the flights at issue here, the flights to El Salvador. You have said that everybody on those flights had ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua or to MS-13. Can you give me some background, help me understand how these people ended up there? Are these people that were recently arrested?
Some were, some weren't. Some have been in custody for a little bit, and some on that plane were Title VIII removals, which means they were ordered removed by the immigration judge, and some others were removed through the Alien Enemies Act. I think about 240 on that flight were Venezuelan gang members, TDA, and I think we had 21 MS-13 members and a couple, specific MS-13 cases, but as far as the Venezuelans on that flight, every single one, according to the information given to me from the field, are members of the TDA. And TDA's been determined to be terrorist organizations. They are now classified as terrorists, so that plane removed 240 terrorists from the United States.
So how do you determine, or how do your people in the field determine that somebody is a gang member?
Look, there's various methods. I've noticed in the media this week, a lot of them don't have criminal histories. Well, a lot of gang members don't have criminal histories. Just like a lot of terrorists in this world, they're not in any terrorist database, right? We only know the information what's in databases based on, for instance, most terrorists we arrest that are identified by the U.S. government are later identified through a Title III investigation or through an undercover operation. They're not in any terrorist screening database. We know that. A lot of gang members, I started as a cop in 1984. Many gang members don't have a criminal history. So we have a count on social media. We have a count on surveillance techniques. We have a count on sworn statements from other gang members. We have a count on, wiretaps and Title III. So everything involved with criminal investigations come into play. So just because someone hasn't been arrested and charged with a crime yet, doesn't mean they're a member of a gang.
But how do you? I mean, what we've heard from lawyers representing some of these people is that they deny that they're members of this gang. Or either, Tren de Aragua or MS-13. Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Confident. Look, due process. Where was Lake and Ronnie's due process? Where were all these young women that were killed and raped by members of TDA? Where was their due process?
Well, the people that did that should be prosecuted.
Alive on a subway. Where's her due process?
Well, sure.
The bottom line is that plane was full of people designated as terrorists. Number one. Number two, every Venezuelan migrant on that flight was a TDA member based on numerous criminal investigations, on intelligence reports, and a lot of work by ICE officers. Matter of fact, 2 days after that flight took off, I even had a discussion with the acting director of ICE, and he reiterated that every Venezuelan on that plane was a known member of the TDA. So a lot of officers, a lot of criminal investigators, special agents who've done this for decades, looked at the intelligence information, the criminal investigation information, all the various social media and surveillance and government records and public records, and they are confident that they're all members of the TDA. And I'm not surprised that a member of the family saying they're not a member of the TDA. But they were given due process according to the laws on the books. See, that's the difference between the Trump administration and Biden administration. We're actually using the laws on the books to enforce immigration law and secure the border at the highest level it's ever been. The Biden administration not only ignored the law, they violated the law. Like District Court in District 5 said that not only they violating law, they're actually ignoring the law altogether. We are using the laws on the books to enforce our borders, immigration laws, and the interior enforcement enforcement. If you look at the border numbers are down 96%. We already got 40,000 criminals removed by ICE in the interior, which more was done in 6 weeks than the Biden administration did in a year. We're using the laws on the books. We're not making this up. Everything we've done is based on a statute that was enacted by Congress and signed by the president. The president quickly, by proclamation, invoked the authorities he has under the Alien Enemies Act, which he's allowed to do.
But let me ask you one specific example, and there are many. But one specific example is somebody that was on one of those flights. His name is Jersey Reyes Barrios. He is was a professional soccer player in Venezuela, and his lawyer says that he was caught up in this because he had a tattoo that he said was chosen because it is a tattoo that is similar to the logo of his favorite soccer team, Real Madrid. Says he's got no criminal record whatsoever and has never been a gang member. Now that person is now apparently in that prison in El Salvador with no ability now to contact his lawyer, no rights as far as they can tell, no rights at all to defend himself or prove his innocence. I mean, what happens to somebody like that?
Well, look, they can make those claims, and of course we have information that says the complete opposite. It's a member of TDA, affiliated with TDA, which again...
Will you release that information?
It's a terrorist organization.
Will you release the information?
Look, that's going to be that would be litigated in the courts with this judge. I'm not going to get into every specific case because there's 260 cases. We got to count on the men and women who do this every day for a living, who designated these people as members of TDA through, like I said, various law enforcement methods. This will be litigated, but as of right now, I've been assured by the highest levels in ICE that every one of these members, every one of these men is one of those members of TDA. There's going to be more litigation on this case, I'm sure. But what was done by the Trump administration was exactly in accordance with federal law, again, enacted by Congress and signed by the president. We're not making this up. We're enforcing laws around the